I want to talk about the compounding way of forming a word in the derivational word formation process. We can more or less guess its meaning by looking at the word compounding. So by definition, it means it is a process of combining two free morphemes to form a new word. Examples are like dark room, aircraft, and boyfriend. Those words are containing two free morphemes. But I want to add a little bit more than that. That is, in reality of the compounding process, it can get a little bit complex. There are particularly two exceptions. The first one is by adding the interfix between two free morphemes. In this case, let's take the word speedometer. We can see that there's a interfix O between those two free morphemes, speed and meter. Another exception is that the compounding words is added with a free morpheme and a inflectional word. In this case, let's take the word windsurfer. So wind is a free morpheme, and surfer is a inflectional word. It's not a free morpheme. So I just want to say that in reality, the compounding process can be a little bit complex rather than the basic definition. There are some exceptions. I'll get back to those two exceptions in later of this video, but now I want to talk about the spelling criterion of a compound word. There are basically three ways of spelling compound word. The first way is by separating those two free morphemes. In this case, let's take the word living room. By appearance, they are looking like two separated words, but actually they function as a single word. The second way of spelling compound word is basically the traditional way, putting two free morphemes together. In this case, notebook. The third way of spelling compound words by adding hyphens between each morphemes. In this case, like the word up to date with hyphens between them. And I also want to talk about the properties of English compounds, or rather the features of English compounds. And the first one I want to talk about is the red-headedness, or put it simply, that in the process of compounding, the free morphemes can be different types of free morphemes, or different types of words. In this case, I'm talking about Are they verbs? Are they nouns? Or are they adjectives? And let's take the example blackboard, right? Black as a free morpheme, it's an adjective. Bird as a free morpheme is a noun. So you can combine those two different types of free morphemes into a blackbird. And blackbird as functions as a noun as well. Let's take the second word, skin deep. So in this case, the free morpheme skin as a noun and deep as an adjective. So the compound word skin deep functions as an adjective. Let's take the third word, swimsuit. Swim as a free morpheme, it functions as a verb. Suit as a free morpheme, it functions as a noun. So combine those two morphemes. The word swimsuit functions as a noun. So the idea here is that a compound word can be formed by different types of free morphemes. By different types, I mean they can be noun and adjectives. They can be verb and noun, and they can be adjectives and verbs, right? Next, I want to talk about the stress pattern. Basically, a formed compound word is built up by a particular stressed morpheme that you want the word to represent, right? In the case, let's take the word greenhouse, right? So you put the stress on the green. Scarecrow, right? You put the stress on the scare. So it's pretty much straightforward regarding the stress pattern, right? We also have tense and plurality. So that means a compound word can be pluralized or change their tenses. In the case of verb compound verbs. Let's take these examples of the plurality. Let's take firefighter. So if we want to pluralize the compound word firefighter, we just add a s in the end of the firefighter. From firefighter to firefighters. Let's take the word passerby. In this case, it's a different way of spelling a compound word, right? In this way of compound spelling, if we want to pluralize this compound word just by adding the third person singular suffix s in the end of the first free morpheme. So let's take the word passerby to passersby. Also the word mother-in-law. Same as the last example, we add, if we want to pluralize it, we just add the third person singular suffix s in the end of the first free morpheme mother, rather than other parts of the word. So mother-in-law becomes mothers-in-law. In terms of the tensity, so we take the compound verb drop kick. So you want to change its tense to past tense, basically add the ed in the end of the word. So the compound word drop kick becomes drop kicked. And I also want to talk two more properties of English compounds. The first one is meaning relationships. Talking about meaning relationships, we have to mention two terms. One's called endocentrics, second one's called exocentrics. So by official definition, endocentrics means an endocentric construction consists of an obligatory head and one or more dependents whose presence serves to modify the meaning of the head. By definition of exocentric, it is an exocentric construction consists of two or more parts, whereby the one or other parts cannot be viewed as providing the bulk of the semantic content of the whole. Let's put those two official definitions away. I would rather give my own explanations to those two terms. I would say, to put it simply, endocentric basically means a compound word that is constructed by two free morphemes, and those two free morphemes have relationships, right? They have a one way or another some relationships between them. Let's take some examples. For example, coffee pot. Coffee and pot, right? It's relatable, right? If you want to drink coffee, you need to use some pots, right? Let's take the word lunch room. Right, the free morpheme lunch and room, they are relatable, right? If you want to have lunch, better you eat it in the room, right? Some kind of rooms. Cookbook, right? Also relatable. Rocking chair, right? So let's talk about exocentric. So I would put it simply that it is a compound word, a compound word who consists with the free morphemes, and those free morphemes don't have any relatable semantic meanings or just relatable relationships, right? Let's take the word redneck. So you separate the free morpheme red and neck. they don't they don't look and they don't feel related at all, right? Scare and crow. There's nothing that you can think of to relate those two words to free morphemes. Pickpocket, pick, and pocket, right? Highbrow, high and brow, right? The last feature of compound words is that I want to talk about those compound words made of complex words or morphemes. As I mentioned in the beginning, that a compound word can be constructed not only from two free morphemes, also other ways. In this case, we are talking about it can be constructed with a free morpheme and inflectional word. Let's take the word washer dryer, right? Washer is not free morpheme. Dryer also is not free morpheme. But if you put them together, it's called a compound word, right? Let's take the word windsurfer. Wind is a free morpheme and surfer is a inflectional word. So if we put them together, it's a compound word. So there's not a precise or 100% sure definition of compound, how a compound word should be constructed. But the basic rule is that most of them are constructed by two free morphemes. And there are some exceptions, like those two exceptions. By constructed from two different words rather than two free morphemes, or mixed morpheme with a morpheme with a word, or putting a infix between two free morphemes. And it's worth knowing. And that's it. So I want to clarify two terms, endocentric and exocentric. I've already explained those two terms a little bit, but I didn't explain it precisely, so I think I would like to reclaim those two terms. So before we explain those two terms, we have to focus on two parts about compound words. Those two parts are the meaning of a compound word and the meaning of their morphemes. So if we can take those two parts into endocentric compounds, it is actually referring to the meaning of a compound word has some relatable relationship with the meaning of their morphemes, free morphemes. Whereas the meaning of the compound words in exocentric doesn't have a direct relationship or connection with their morphemes or free morphemes. So this is what those two terms are referring to.